Okay, good evening everybody. सबको फंडिंग चाहिए और हम इधर पैसा देने बैठे हैं. हम यहाँ के शार्क टैंक है एंड मेरा एक बैनर है, I'll show you later. Forget the sharks, switch to the killer whale VC, Samir Dahotre. So what am I doing here? So this guy came and this other guy came. And he's introducing website का नाम बोला. So this is the startup. जिधर भी मौका मिले उधर बात करो, मार्केटिंग करो, वरना हमको ब्लेम मत करो. If you are not able to, so Shark Tank में Sharks का सबसे बड़ा मोमेंट था when they came on कपिल शर्मा शो. Now imagine कपिल शर्मा को फंडिंग चाहिए तो कितना मिलेगा उसको. So welcome to all the panelists. Starting with, I'll ask everybody to introduce themselves. My name is Samir Dahotre. I'm the founder and CEO of PSI, the world's largest VC funding network. So again, world's largest, it's proven by Google. So that also I'll cover in the presentation. I was in Infosys, Microsoft. In Microsoft, I sold 10,000 servers to State Bank of India. It's a world record. In Infosys, Finacle में था, core banking. तो आपका जब बैंक चल नहीं रहा जैसे Finacle is down, but let me tell you, Finacle is not down, the network is down. So don't blame Finacle. Okay, and so we were #1 region in the world. The email went out from Mohandas Pai, copied to Nandanji and NRN that this India team has done $50 million in a single year. So as you can, last I'll say about myself, if you meet me in Delhi Metro, Mumbai Metro and you're a college boy, I will tell you about my startup and I'll elevator pitch to you. So that boy says, अरे sir आप मेरे को क्यों pitch मार रहे हो? I'll say, अरे तू लाएगा ना मेरे को investor या कोई तो customer. So that's the thing. So I'll hand over to the panelists. Alka ji, Alka Goel, a very brilliant woman. She is from Delhi only. She went like a normal person, went to the US. She was with McKinsey for 17 long years. Started as an associate or junior, whatever, and then she became partner of private equity practice at McKinsey in New York. So she gives yarn to private equity funds. So imagine her level of understanding. And Alka, please introduce yourself.
I'm definitely not giving gyan. My name is Alka Goel. Like Samir said, I founded a firm called Alchemy Growth Capital, which is an early growth capital firm focused on health and wellness. Because what Samir missed is I led parts of the healthcare practice and private equity practice in New York for about 15 years. And I moved back to India because like all of us here, I'm very long India, believe in what's happening, and this is the time to be in India. So I came back here and set this firm up, and I guess we've all lived through some really hard times during COVID, which has also forced us to reinvent ourselves. In particularly, health and wellness has emerged as front and center, and that's what we're looking to invest.
Yeah, we have Inflection Point Ventures team.
Yeah, so when I was supposed to be here, and apologies on his behalf, he was not here, so I'm here filling in for him. So I'm Minal SHah. I head the investments team at Inflection Point Ventures. What IPV typically does is we fund early stage startups. We're completely sector agnostic. Our whole belief is not to just give funds or check to the startup, but also give them the support that they need in their early journey to help them grow to the next level. So that's about IPV.
Thank you. Myself, Sanjeev Bishnoi. I represent Bajaj Captial. I'm Vice President Investment Banking. The difference that we bring to the investors or the land borrowers is we provide the entire spectrum of lending, right from the tech startup up to the IPO. We go that's the solution that fits best for the borrower or the tech startup. It's not that run of the mill. For some people, some borrowers, we can go for the HNI funding or ultra HNI, maybe the family offices. So what happens, we help the companies grow, we structure it, maybe in the form of equity or a quasi-debt or a quasi-equity. So it's just not this, we look at the company, the growth potential. The most important is right kind of intention and right approach of the borrower has to be there, which we identify over a period of time, and we help them in a lot of ways. Because of the presence, maybe nationally, maybe with the experience that we have in the Pan-India team. It actually helps a lot of corporates in solving their monetary problems. Thank you.
So I represent Agility Ventures and our fund, VC fund, Fluid Ventures. So we found Agility 2 years back with one thing in mind, that is, how we can create and maximize the value for anyone who's associated with the startup ecosystem. So obviously it began with, a pool of investors, which has been growing steadily. And now we are a category 1 angel fund, that is Agility Ventures fund. And Fluid Ventures, it's a VC fund. Fluid is focused on the D2C space, while Agility is a sector agnostic fund. So like IPV, we also support startups not only by helping funds them with the fundraising, but also supporting them in whatever way we can, like mentoring and hand-holding them. So that is what we are trying to do in this space.
Thank you. That's Mr. Prashant Narang. Very nice, very great person. Now I'll just digress a bit so that audience will know what are we talking about. So like IPV is an angel network and a VC fund also. Same with Prashant's company, Agility is an angel network and Fluid is a VC fund. So the most important people in India, according to me, for fundraising is the angel network. Because here now, aap sham ko, you will say, acha, this guy looks to be big, angel investor ban sakta hai. So wo sab it's a very inefficient way to fundraise. So you pitch to the angel network and it's going to be difficult because they'll have screening things and Minal will tell us how many emails she gets. Like VCs are getting 30 emails a day. There are 4 analysts. So how do you expect them? So if your subject line is bad and if your 1 para, 2 para is bad, then what's the point? So as we are and we are also technically an investment banker, so we help startup fundraise, but and we are obviously in the larger fundraise space, like $1 million to $100 million. But there are other mentors there. Get a mentor who can guide you, who can talk to them, and understand. In angel, it's a lot of times it's the panel will chair, but it's a lot of personal thing. It's angel investor believes in your mission. He can give a lot of help rather than the VCs. VCs do not, according to me, they don't have the time actually, or I may be wrong here to generalize. But generally, angels are very, very helpful in this world. So then I'll come to, after the angel network, then there are micro VCs are there. There's a company in Delhi called Expo Ventures. Then there's another, that's a $200,000 funding. Then there's another by Hina Arora, I'm not getting the fund, but it's again early stage, again Delhi based. So these are micro VCs. So they are good, they have good connections with the investor communities also. Then there are early stage VC, which are giving you checks of around $500,000, 1 million and 1.5 million. So most VCs you see are early stage VCs. So Artha Venture Fund in India starts at $500,000. Then the typical famous ones, SHah Partners, Matrix Partners, they give 1 million, 2 million as the first check, and then total they can deploy anywhere between 10 to 15 million. Then we have mid-stage VC, growth stage VC. So Alka is from growth stage fund. So those are the people. Then there's late stage VC like Insight Partners, which backed Bharat Pay. I'm in touch with the founder. So Insight Partner, ka managing partner, Deven Parekh came with Barack Obama to India. So you can imagine how big that guy is if he can come with Barack Obama. And there are late stage VCs and they are giving checks of $100 million, single investor. And then there are finally the big daddies, which are private equity funds, which are also giving a lot of money. And above private equity, there are limited the sovereign wealth funds. Or, you will be shocked to know one of the largest investor who invests in VCs and LPs, Canada Pension Fund. So they are like billions or trillions of dollars. Now I'll go to the next question to the panel. Please specifically introduce about your fund and what do you all look for in the startups. Alka ji, please start.
Thank you. Am I audible? Okay, awesome. As I said, we are a little later stage. We look at health and wellness companies only. The company should have had proof of concept, which basically means should have gone to the market and have revenues. The amount of revenues don't matter. It could be, depending on the type of company, if it's a B2B, B2C, the ranges may be very different. Obviously the team is there, the management is in place, it's existed, the basic processes are there. Maybe an institutional investor is there, or maybe it's not, we are not hung up on that. And more importantly, the vision is there, so there's clearly traction in the company, but the vision of where you're going. At the time companies come to us, they may or may not be profitable, that's okay. But there's a path to profitability, so that's what we look at in our fund, which could be very different from different fund perspectives.
For us, we are completely stage agnostic. So we have invested in companies which had their plan on a paper. We like the plan and we've invested on it. And we've also invested in companies which is a growth company like a milk basket or something. For us, there are 4 criteria basically. The first criteria is it has to solve a problem. First of all, there should be a problem. They should not find a solution to something where it does not need a solution. So problem solving is very important. Secondly, what we look at is what they are doing in terms of solution. It is different from what is happening in the market. And also the market is huge enough to accept that solution. The third thing that we look at is whatever they are solving, the unit economics make sense. Matlab, they should make money with the solution that they are providing. And the fourth and the foremost, I think it comes first, I would say, is the founder. Whether he can solve this problem, he has the capabilities or not. These are the 4 basic principles we rely on.
At Bajaj Capital, what we do is that we are not putting our own funds because we have the policies. What we help is we help the borrowers across the spectrum. Even if it's wanting to borrow a minimum of 25-50 lakhs, we help the corporate, provided the concept is good. It's a deceptive idea in the market, and it helps in growing it up. So he can come, we'll come us again for the second round, for the third round, or fourth round. So we are present across. There may be some corporate or some borrower who is wanting to borrow maybe 1 crore, maybe 5 crores, 10 crores.
So Sanjeev, means you are talking about MSME kind of client
we
profile.
We are across. So not only the SME, but we are doing across. So because in my introduction said, in the last we also do the IPO. So we help the early stage investors or the late stage investors or maybe the private equity to get exit through the IPO as well. So we are advisors. So we also help the companies in maybe the thinking process, the remodeling process, or the growth process. So not only the fundraise, but we are involved holistically in all the aspects of the company if it is required.
Yeah, Prashant, I think why don't you tell the audience about how is startup versus MSME, or what is your opinion in that?
So the biggest difference that I feel between MSME and a startup is the uncertainty. Because you're doing something for the first time, solving a problem which has not been solved, you don't know how people will take it. So an MSME can be, opening an ice cream parlor in a place where there is no ice cream parlor. So that can be a small venture started by somebody. But if you're solving a problem where you don't know whether the demand exists or not, whether people would buy the solution maybe they would like to pay for that solution or not. You're not aware. So the foremost distinguishing feature is uncertainty, which is there in a startup but not in a MSME.
Right.
So
And so just to add that, I don't know if panel will agree, disagree, but MSMEs can look at debt funding from Bajaj Capital, example, and or from banks, or there are NBFCs also, and whereas startups can look at equity-based funding. So there's debt versus equity. So debt is something you take let's say a 50 lakh loan, which you know you can pay off fast. And startup is where you are going to burn and grow very high. And there are exceptions there also, like Bajaj is profitable from day one. So there are different variants. And it is a mix of both according to me. Example, in my one IIT, I'm a speaker at IIT earlier. That time I said, students को आप इधर बिरयानी का ठेला चालू कर दो बाहर. So everybody started telling me biryani क्या बोल रहे हो समीर, कुछ audience को कुछ guide करो. So there is biryani by kilo, by the way, which has got lot of VC funding. So now is biryani ठेले वाला a startup or an MSME? Best you decide, So I'll move to the next question. Is yeah, please.
My name is Expo. I have started with the state of Ghana. Actually, my son is
Okay.
known for a disaster.
Wow.
So he's here. I'd like to say Minal and Alkemi.
Minal. Yeah, we are completely open to it.
We have made it known for a disaster management in the state of J&K, and we are incubated at NIT Srinagar, and KKADI is the nodal agency in the state of J&K. They also have incubators. But on the funding part, they cannot arrange.
Sure, definitely. I'll do share my card.
This platform as a medium to interact with it.
Definitely, we will definitely.
We have approached you, ma'am.
I'll share my card with you.
Yeah, so it's not about IPV or agility. There are 8-10 angel networks in India. I'll be introducing to you about all of them in the following presentation. Yeah, and you all.
Prototype, and we will be the part of mock with NDRF also. So I promise that this we see.
Yeah, so Sarji, what you have to do is you have to apply to all the resources we are going to talk about here, and फिर आपका कुछ again, please remember that when you are trying, presenting, वो passion है, J&K है, it's a stressed area, but investor को return चाहिए. आप ये याद रखो हमेशा. Do not forget that. Go on your elevator pitch, but elevator को ऊपर मत ले लो. अपने को, there is lot of thing like NGO है या आशा impact fund है, or these are impact funds are there, but they are not funding NGOs. They are funding private companies who are going to make money from farmers or agri-tech hai, all sorts of things are there. So thank you, sir. I'll move to the panel again. Is very, very interesting question. How difficult in the COVID world, in pre and post-COVID world, panelists, please tell me how have you seen the startup evolve? And again, I'm telling you, these people get 30 pitches a day. It is a nightmare. You will say VCs reply nahi karte. They are all snobbish people. Angel network. Minal ji ne email ka reply nahi kiya. मैं मिला उसको ये सब. So Minal ji, by the way, she's just overloaded with inquiries. I get 5 inquiries per day. On LinkedIn. Okay, because of that world's largest and all that. And I am regretting now. I keep on marketing myself so much. Because then one guy is approached. I know how you approach is very. One guy approached me, sir, I need 10 minutes of your time. I will make a 10,000 crore company in 5 years. अभी वो it's like that Shark Tank पे 300 करोड़ वाला 300 करोड़ का 1200 करोड़ वैल्यूएशन पे, और फिर मैं 6000 करोड़ का आइसक्रीम मार्केट, इंडिया का आइसक्रीम 100% आई कैप्चर करूँगा. I mean उसको क्या बोले, Shark Tank पे ऐसे बोल रहा है. Then अच्छा ये तुझे तो पैसा कोई देगा नहीं. It's be very careful what you say, where you say at any panel, and be like me, be in the sales mode. Anybody who comes up, pitches about them, I admire them. So next question to the panel is, how do you see the startup before the COVID world and after the COVID world?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the entire digital revolution accelerate in the COVID world. I mean, things which were supposed to or which were planned to reach the audience, maybe an edtech platform or a health tech or a telemedicine or a delivery or a Swiggy or a Zomato, you take any of these, the digital revolution has accelerated. However, the physical has taken a back seat. So we've seen both sides of stories. We've seen startups on the digital side growing 10x, 15x, 20x month on month. We've seen startups on the physical side stalling, even closing down their businesses. So both sides of stories we've seen. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alka.
ऑडियो कहाँ भाई?
A lot of
कैसे ऑडियो कर रहे हैं? नहीं वाइड नहीं है, मेरा भी दरकार, मेरा भी दरकार,
Hello. They don't have to travel across their offices or across the cities and meet the investment bankers or the investors directly. Now, most of things are happening. That way, a lot of time has been saved, and the borrowers also realize that instead of meeting physically, doing a conference call or a video call is actually helping them. It is also helping us in better utilization of our time. So, I would encourage that all of who are the borrowers, they should seriously make a very good page, as Samir has already mentioned. Make it to the last point and then talk to either your investment banker or to the fund. What you want to say in a short and crisp way.
No, Sanjeev, one more thing, audience will relate better now because you're from Bombay and Bajaj Capital or whatever, Bombay, Delhi, wherever. But there's Bajaj Capital, there's Motilal Oswal, there are all the NBFCs. They are huge companies. I mean, they are 40,000 crore each kind of thing. So there are MSME businessmen sitting here. So उनको आप clearly बताइए आपका क्या turnover होना चाहिए या और आप कितना how much will you give particularly for the MSME.
See, as I mentioned earlier, we can go to as low as 50 lakh as well. And above, there's no limit. So your business model has to justify that minimum amount of 50 lakhs as well. See, the way you scale up your model, the way your financial projections are, the way you are able to capture the market in the times to come. Because that 50 lakhs is not going to serve the entire purpose. There will be additional borrowing at a later stage. There has to be then, it has to be an entire spectrum. That is the reason initially I said, we are present across the entire spectrum because again you have to come to the market for borrowing. Sometimes in the form of equity, sometimes in the form of past equity, maybe sometimes in the form of pure debt. Because every time divesting your equity is not advisable. Sometimes there are certain venture debt funds as well who can give you the debt. So why to divest the equity at any point, at every point of time of borrowing? So what we do is we help the borrowers or the small companies in raising the funds according to which suits them. One structure fits all is not going to work with us. We give them a solution. It is up to them. This is accept or not. And then we accordingly approach the fund house.
Yeah, and another basic equity basics is that you take money from you also. There might be 3 months before the payment starts, right? How much time is it? Immediately you have to start paying the principal plus interest.
So there's at times there are moratorium as well.
Okay.
So which actually depends on the market conditions, how you're utilizing it, whether you're putting the money into the working capital or the capex side.
Right.
So we do a analysis of that on an Excel sheet, and then accordingly we go for the moratorium, whether it's for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever.
Right. Prashant ji, what would you like to say on the pre-COVID, post-COVID world? How are the pitches? How are the startups?
So I would say that, I mean, in terms of how the startups have fared, the startups which were already there from the pre-COVID period, The mediocre and the weak ones have perished. The strong ones who had their fundamentals in place and did things right have really scaled up. I mean, as said earlier, digital transformation of businesses or enablement of businesses has really helped them scale up. So second is definitely that we can't ignore the fact that COVID has put India in a very favorable position because it's actually China's loss and India's gain. So definitely there is a lot more opportunity now for Indian startups because the world is focusing on us. So it is the right time, and that is why we see that a lot of startups are coming up with the number of startups that are there is going up, and there is a lot of funding also which is available. People from India, they are willing to put in money into startups now, and so is people from outside India. So we can see that one is that digital enablement has helped it, and second is the confidence in India has gone. These two things.
Thank you. The next question will be, tell us, the audience need to relate to you as a sector, like a VC, mid-stage VC fund, Angel Network, NBFC, Angel Network plus VC fund. So they need to see some real life juice or action or other. What are the startups you all have back? Top 2 startups starting with you, Alka.
Just one more point on that COVID thing. One interesting trend outside of digitization, which everyone talks about, is talent. I think people have gone back outside of the 3 hubs, Delhi, Bangalore and Bombay, back to their hometowns, and they continue to be employed by those startups. So I think the entrepreneurial energy beyond what was called the hubs is spreading very, very quickly, and we are seeing that. So I won't talk about, it's very hard to pick your favorite startups. Honestly, that's not a question I would feel comfortable at this point answering. But we can talk a little bit about what are our themes that we are excited about.
Sure.
I think, again, because at least for this one, we're focused on health and wellness, so I'll talk a little bit about that. I think all of you, every new year you make a resolution, right? You're going to get more healthy. So I don't think there's any person out there who's not proactively aware about trying to get healthier. And whether it's the food you consume, whether it's exercise, whether it's sometimes even the clothes you wear. So there's a whole lot of attention being paid to preventive health in question, right? People have just become much more aware. They want to know what their heart rate is. They want to know what their, exactly. They want to know what their ECG is. Things like that, which wasn't even, 5 years back, which is not possible technologically, and you weren't aware of it. So we are seeing a lot of innovation in POCT, point of care. We're seeing a lot of interest of consumers in preventive. I think people are using diagnostics much more seriously. So diagnostics is a huge area, whether it's do your own diagnostics or home, which is not possible in developed markets because of the labor market situation there. Healthcare delivery, all of you have gone through a change, I'm sure, is obviously an exciting, whether it's ambulatory care, whether it's healthcare delivery. Even pharma commercial models are changing, insurtech. So I can go on themes that we're excited about, because healthcare and wellness is almost 11% of startups that happen in India. Of course, 5% of GDP, if you include wellness, it's equal to 9 or 10%. So it's pretty large subsegments. But all I'd say is there's no better time to be an entrepreneur, and this is what gets us excited.
I also don't think I can pick any of my startups. If any of my founders are looking at this, they wouldn't be happy me picking one over the other.
You should be marketing them, yeah, that's what I meant.
No, I can market, but then I need 108 minutes for my 108 startups to market. But in terms of sector, it's the financial inclusion sector that we are looking at very, very minutely, which is basically including the savings, the lending part of the pie, which is completely being derived of this financial inclusion or financial benefits that they can avail of. So this is one thing that we are looking at very, very intently. And the other segment is the AI segment, AI in anything, specifically in healthcare. So AI in healthcare is something which is exciting us. Waste management is something that we are looking at because we know that this is going to be a big problem. EV is also another exciting sector, though we are trying to understand which technology is going to play out eventually. So we are still trying to understand the technology, but EV is also what we are looking at. So these are the 4 top sectors, I would say, right now.
For us, we are looking to a fintech in a very big way, followed by on the TV side. Third, very strange to say, is biryani. We are doing it for a large, evolving and just doing less than a crore right now. But its model is very good. Maybe another 10-15 days get attracted the name as well. And the last is see, because of these sectors pricing keep on changing with time. It cannot be that today the fintech is there, so 6 months later, 1 month later, 1 year later, it could be again fintech. The pricing keep on changing, the investors keep on changing with time. So as of now, like artificial intelligence, electrical, machine language, and technology, they are actually the flavor. We also going. Sometimes we do get a destructive idea, which actually takes a brand. So I'm not biased towards any sector, but yes, what I look at is what's happening in the market right now, what the flavor is, and is there any destructive idea.
So, our focus is on, we are sector agnostic, but what we see as a promising sector is, there are 5 of them. So first is the blockchain. With the government's focus also coming on the blockchain with, the Center of Excellence for blockchain being set up by NIC, or the strategy documents that have been, floated by Niti Aayog and MEITY. You can see that, the blockchain is the next.
Prashant, I'm hearing blockchain for too long now and I'm tired of hearing of it. I want to see implementation. I want you to see Kotak Bank has deployed this application on blockchain.
Exactly. So that is what, right now the use cases of blockchain is not there. The moment those use cases start coming in, blockchain will be the next internet. And we cannot deny it. The world is going to change with blockchain, we all know that. It is just, that we can't see enough use cases. One use case that we see is crypto. And people would not deny the fact that there are 10 crore investors in India who have already invested in crypto. Whether it is as small as 2,000 rupees, which my 10-year-old son has told me to put in because he wants to experience it. So that is what is happening. So there is
Prashant, don't you think it's strange that the government has not announced the crypto policy as such, or a Bitcoin, and there are Bitcoin funded startups, as we know, which came on IPL also.
Strategy documents by Niti Aayog and MEITY is there. If you can,
it's in the budget too.
Yeah, and in the budget they have taxed the digital assets. That is how they are acknowledging the validity of that asset. Okay. Till now there was nothing. So we will definitely move step by step into that. So one is blockchain. The second is IoT, ML and industrial automation. Third is EV and the charging infrastructure that is there to support it. Fourth is definitely consumer, D2C. So we have a fund which is focused on D2C, because when we speak to people outside India, you talk to people in US and Canada, they are not looking at D2C in their countries because they don't have that population. India has got the advantage of 1.4 billion people. The behavior, the consumer behavior is changing. With COVID, it has accelerated. So consumer is definitely that we are looking at. The last is fintech, because definitely if you look at the 83, 84 unicorns that we have had, 17 are fintechs. So fintech space would always be big because again of the population size in India. So these are the 5 spaces that we are looking at as a promising.
Prashant bhai, one more thing I want you to touch upon is, see, there are consumer D2C startup here, and then there's consumer product startup. Consumer product mein, as I understand, margins are, net margin will be very less, 10% or 20%. Consumer product, wafer wala kind of thing. Versus D2C brand, people are coming on website like Sleepy Owl, world's first or India's first cold brew coffee. It's very, very interesting video you must all see. And I want you to, if you all are taking Indigo, I am elevator pitching to you, please have the Sleepy Alka hot coffee. It will be wonderful in the flight. Okay, sorry.
So definitely, again, when we are looking at a D2C company, we are looking at companies which have margins more than 50%, so gross margins, because then only they can have that, capacity to spend and market their product well. If they are a, low margin product, then obviously it cannot it cannot scale up that fast. So if you look at most of the companies which are in the D2C space, their margins will be between 35 to 75%. Even up to 80%. We have funded startups which have got 80% gross margin. And again, in terms of scalability, if you are, the companies start with the pure D2C model, capture a market, through marketing or whatever ways, and then slowly also start using the traditional distribution channels to reach out to the markets where you see those, products at your local stores, convenience stores. You start looking at this.
Yeah, so one of the Prashant's friend or partner is a friend of mine, Janudas, and they had early backed Go Mechanic as a. So again, you'll say, "Acha, Go Mechanic is providing car wash service at home or this or that," and so I've got
not only car wash, sir, it is entire repairing.
Yeah, repairing and all these other services. So we would think that okay, it's not a market and all, but there is a people, when you start it, you come to know what is the market, and it's any startup ka journey is not directly $100 million fundraise and all. It's always been a journey of 5 to 6 years before that large fundraising happens. Okay, now the next question, panelists, is that India, what is your views on job creation? We have the world's largest youth force. India will overtake China, no doubt. Probably, I'm not sure of the US, but probably China we will, because our youth is so huge. It's really mind-boggling. And the youth are the ones who are the 18 to 25, 30 kind of people. We have the largest of that in the world. So kindly, panelists, please tell us, how have VCs or angel networks created direct and indirect employment? And that, again, with some stories.
Yeah, by definition, right? I mean, it is one of the most substantial problems, job creation, given that you said youth is, less than 35 to 65% of our population. I think as much of it is job creation, it is relevant job creation, because what is happening is the kind of jobs that will be required in the future. I talk about it with my friends and colleagues all the time. 15 years back, many of the jobs that exist today didn't exist 15 years back, right? It's a very known fact. So the question is, how do we equip, rescale, upscale, make them employment ready? I think like anyone in the ecosystem, we're just a small part of the ecosystem, the VC ecosystem, there's the MSc in the ecosystem, there's a large industry ecosystem, there's the government ecosystem, and everyone has to do their bit on job creation. The fact that we are helping hopefully create sustainable companies in the long run will by definition create employment opportunities, right? Can it beat, I'm sure if you take the portfolio of just the 4 of us here, I'm just counting in my head because we are more concentrated than you guys. We have, close to 10 investments, and we would probably be having direct employment of about 3,500 people in those 10 minimum. And then of course you guys have, so we are creating jobs. And I think we are also playing an important role upskilling, because in the startup scenario, a lot of people that join the startups are generalists initially, right? And they're just going with the flow. So they just want to work in startups. So in a way we are contributing to that. Is that enough for a country as large as India? I don't think so. But everyone needs to play their part. And this is where I think someone was talking about the public-private partnerships. And I think that's happening. By definition, second and third order effects would be felt. If the first order effect is the company itself, which has, let's say, employed 1,000 people, those 1,000 people are then demanding things from somewhere else, and you've got suppliers and vendors, and that will create a...
Alka, I have a very specific question for you, because you spent 20 years in New York and US, and then you're in India now last 5 years. So do you think we will ever see universal healthcare in India like we have in the US? Is it possible to aspire for it at least?
Yeah, you know, there's pros and cons to every model of healthcare, right? I mean, we just talked about Canadian pension funds, and then of course the US. I mean, just the RT-PCR test in the US costs $300, here it costs $7. So there's pros and cons to any system. I think the Ayushman Bharat was an attempt to give some sort of coverage, whether it is under coverage or not. I don't think so, but it is a step in the right direction. But I think the healthcare, a lot of people come from outside India to get treated in India. So there is a lot of opportunity in healthcare. The quality of healthcare is just not available, accessible and affordable to everyone, given the size and scale. So that's a very specific question, but I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to build on the job creation.
I think you defined it beautifully, and previously also when you said, you know, now the jobs are not centric to the 3 or 4 capital. It's been like, because of the startup ecosystem, it's been distributed around the country. That's also true. I completely agree with that. However, there is one thing that currently, you know, there is one part of job which is, you know, there's a demand for techies, as they say. You know, they say in Bangalore, when you come down, you'll find 5 techies with their CV over there, you know, and 5 of 10 companies who are pitching to them to tell them to come and join us. So that's the current disbalance, where one segment is getting the job opportunities with the startup ecosystem that is building. But however, having said that, with 1 company or 10 companies moving from 1 to 10, the jobs will also move from 1 to 10. We are contributing in certain way. I don't know if it is enough though.
Definitely, the funds have been providing a lot of job opportunities through the tech startups, and they are across the spectrum, they are across the age, starting from 21 years up to the 40-45 years. The job opportunity has been there across India, pan-India level is there, across the sectors it is there. So, and with the time, this will actually increase, because many new opportunities which were never heard earlier, 5 years or 10 years back, they have been there. For example, maybe in fintech, maybe in health tech, maybe in biotech, or education also. The evolvement that has happened in the last 5 years has been tremendous. My perception is, or my view, it's across all the sectors that has been there. Yes, the young generation has got a lot of employment, but the experienced guys, they have also got the opportunity to work with and provide their experience to the younger guys. So I'm fully backing this, that yes, funds have provided a lot of job opportunities.
So, you know, one aspect that we all know about startups is scalability. The speed at which they scale, you know, again, that is a distinguishing factor between them and the SMEs. And the kind of job opportunities they create. Now, if we fund these startups at an early stage and maybe later growth stage funds come in and they fund these startups, that is what the funds are helping. Because what are funds? Funds are resources. It's a resource which is required for running the business, and we are providing that resource. One of, you know, it's the petrol in the car that will help the car run, and because the car runs, that is how it is, you know, doing the job. I mean, doing the job of creating these job opportunities. If you look at Zomato, it employs, I think, if I've got the numbers right, it would have 2,000 direct employees and another, you know, 3,000, 5,000, 4,000 people as these delivery boys. Go Mechanic, I think it's got 1,000 direct employees, and because it's an aggregator of mechanic shops, so the kind of employment it is generating at the mechanic shop level. So these startups, when they started off, obviously they didn't have a team, and today if they have that kind of team, they definitely, you know, it's a proof that, and how many SMEs or how many, you know, I would say, businesses can create that kind of employment. It is the startups that are doing that, and I would say that we are proud that we are contributing to that. That is a big satisfaction that gives us as an angel fund or as a VC fund, that we are helping in creating, you know, job opportunities. So that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have a closing message for everybody. I'll give my closing message. It's a copy paste from Ashnir Grover. He says, think physical versus digital. तो जिधर physical होगा, delivery होगा, profit कम होगा. Digital, Bharat Pay, Paytm, it is they are making money. Digital, you know, that's the closing. Yeah, sorry, please.
I just want to say, just because it's digital does not mean it's profitable, right? I mean, there can be all sorts of models. So
Yeah. Alka, one closing line tip for the startup. That's all.
So I think I'll just pick on what Samir is saying. There is no one path. I mean, there is an exception to every rule in the startup, just like in life. You are seeing examples of highly profitable companies that have never raised VC money. You are, you know, the Zerodha and the Zoho that get talked about. You are seeing companies that have in 3 years created enormous value. Companies that have taken 15 years but created more value. You know, it has been pedigreed founders, non-pedigreed, small town boy, big town boy, stayed abroad, did this. Actually, I don't see a pattern. Same thing as we were saying, digital is profitable. This is not. It has to solve a problem. The problem has to be valued by the customer. It's as fundamental as that. So I'm just saying, if you're passionate about something, if you have the gumption to do it and courage to do it, if you can build the team, I think it's a great time to do it, because the government is doing every bit, the private sector is doing every bit, and the talent is available. So that's my message for anyone who's interested.
I think someone from the audience, you wanted to add something.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest of honor, Srimati Kiran Bedi ji, former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry and the first female IPS officer of India. I would request Mr. Samir Dahotre to kindly wind up.
Kiran ji, inspiring to see you here. You have had such a wonderful journey. You are the Indra Nui of the government world, and all the women in this entire event will need to take one photo with you. Thank you. I would like to thank all the panelists, and after some time I'll be having a presentation on how to fundraise. So thank you all the panelists. Elevator pitch.
It will go on her Twitter.
Elevator pitch to Miss Kiran Bedi. Miss Kiran Bedi is the Indra Nui of the government. And ma'am, come here. Yeah, and if she can be so polished, so successful, and she doesn't care a damn with thank you everyone here.
Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause for the wonderful session we have just had?